Oh, hello. It's me, Dobie. Welcome to Painting with Light. This is the behind the scenes. It takes you sort of like through a cinematographer's step-by-step. Today we're going to be looking at the video Stew, which I made a few months back. So let's take you through it and kind of show you what we're doing here. Let's count through how many shots we have total. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I thought it was 9. Oh, yeah, there it is. The sneaky little 8th one. So I'm going to take you step by step through all of these shots in sequence and how they led up to it. So this opening one, establishing shot, just something to open on. I'm going to right now cut to the behind the scenes of what I filmed that day, and we're going to do a little bit of a walkthrough on exactly how I got this shot. So we got the GH5 here set up with the Atomos Ninja V. We got our RØDE video mic, boom mic. We got that attached to a C-stand with my Tascam recording with a cloud lifter. Up here we got my Godox UL150 with a Aputure Fresnel ×2, and then barn doors, and then I believe that's a straw CTO bouncing off the roof. But the key light here is actually this China ball attached to a C-stand, which actually has not one, but 2 Aputure Accent B7Cs inside with a splitter. But we got that going at, I think, about 100%, and that's our key light for this entire scene. Okay, so how this sort of shot worked, obviously, is that we have our key light, which is over here, China ball, and it's just shining in hard from the sides, and you can always tell where a light source is coming from based on where the shadows fall. We got a bit of like an ambient light sort of coming down, but just a lot lighter. But our key is right here. It's pretty intense, but it looks pretty natural in the space itself. So here's our second shot. I'm going to cut to the footage of the behind the scenes of this entire setup for this shoot, and here you go. Okay, so for this wide shot, so we got our key light here, which is the 2 Aputure Accent B7Cs and a China ball with a garbage bag skirt, actually, to keep from bouncing off. That's going to be for our practical here. So we got the Godox shining a beam of light at the roof. We have a negative fill here. This is very elaborate. I tried swapping out this light, which is just a normal bulb, for I think it was a Aputure MC, but it can't go below. I did the color temperature with the app. This is set to 270 Kelvin. So then I had to match all of my other lights to that. Down here we have the Godox TL60 tube light, but actually technically that's not the lights that came with it. These are actually roped to the fluorescent bulbs that exist there already, and that's going to replace the really harsh fluorescence there. They're very poorly color temped, so having these Godox lights there instead is really going to fix that. We got 2 Aputure MCs here, just giving some extra light off camera. We got an Amaran AL M9. That's with 2 CTO. That's pasted up there with gaffer tape. And we have another one underneath here with gaffer tape, same amount of gels. We're all trying to color match to this light, which I couldn't replace. So all the lights in this room are technically 2700 Kelvin. Same with these lights, that is 3200. These lights over here are technically 3200, but I don't think it's gonna come up on camera too badly. Here's our main light, key light, camera, negative fill, and we got everything going on in there. Okay, so obviously this is what we kind of learned from this, is just off camera here is our China ball, which is our key light for my face, and that's how you can see key light here, and it's kind of running off here, and then it's a nice hard shadow on this side of my face, and then I'm being backlit by this light as well as a bunch of other lights just off camera behind this fridge. That's where you're getting this this bit of this rim light on the back of my head. It's separating me just slightly from the background, and also it helps that this entire area is very well lit up. Just off camera here we have a blackboard, which is acting as a negative fill. I forgot to mention up until this point, but the camera is set to 3200 Kelvin. In retrospect, now looking at this, I wish I had set it to instead 4300 Kelvin because I think that it would have given everything a more warm tone. Actually, I learned this trick because I had recently been on an actual feature film, and I noticed that the entire thing was lit with really heavy amber light. He set his white balance to 4300. And I thought that was strange, but when I saw the end results, it's just all that light looked like so much more warm than what I was shooting with. So in hindsight, I would have probably done the same had I known that at the time of recording this. So it was set to that, but every one of my bulbs, this one, this is another light, these were all evenly colored to 2700K. And I did that because I couldn't technically replace this bulb. And I quickly ran through the scene and did a color temperature check with an app on my phone, which is free, although I pay for a subscription, but it's called Light Meter. Really quite good. It's really handy. I used a neutral gray card and then just got the light reading, and the light reading said it was basically 2700. And like I said, I want to throw an Aputure MC up here, but the MCs can only go as low as 3200, so it wouldn't have worked out. I think this is pretty good. My only complaint is that light source is a little bit too far away, that I wish I could have boosted the brightness on my face a little bit more. I think that I'm too dark. In order to make me pop, I wish I increased the strength, but they were both running at 100%, but it still wasn't strong enough. And the fact that you can't really see a whole lot of detail in my apron, so there's a few flaws with what I shot. The reason why the China ball is in its place is we are cheating this light. We're pretending like the light that is falling across my face here, that is catching, is coming from this source. But if you think about it, that thing is about parallel with me actually, from where I'm standing. There's no way that it could be lighting that far across my body. If it was just singularly that lens, there would be a hard cutoff here on my face, down my arm, and there would be this harsh shadow in this area, and this would all be too dark to even see. Whereas the China ball has a nice wrap to it, so it lit all that, but your brain sort of fills in the gaps. By putting a practical in the scene and then cheating it by putting a stronger light source here and then lighting me this way, your brain tells you, well, of course he's lit from this side, dummy, because the light's coming from here. And you can cheat it pretty well, because this is an extreme cheat. It's coming from a downward angle, whereas like the light is actually technically up here and it's facing down. And yet our brain will just tell us that it's fine. It makes sense. Okay, moving on. We have insert here with the knives. And I'm gonna cut to the footage of that right now. Okay, so we got a pretty simple setup here. GH5 is all set up. We got the Aputure Duo. We got this looking at the knife block here. We're using the 30mm Sigma. Okay, so for this scene, obviously, I think there was two sources of light. We obviously got the, just underneath here, we have a tube light, which is going on, and just off camera, we have the China ball again. This is the star of the show. In fact, secret, I made this video in general to test how good the Aputure B7C is shooting cinematic looking footage. Stuck in a cheap, like $5 China ball, and it performed amazingly well, and it was the cheapest light ever. And I'm basically gonna make a video down the road here talking about why you should buy one of these if you're starting. If you work on YouTube, if you work on Twitch, and if you work as an indie filmmaker, you need to buy this setup. It is dirt cheap, and it is some of the best light you will ever get. I'll be making a video on that very soon, and I'm using this video as an example. So this was doing a lot of work here, trying to backlight everything, because not only is it practical, and that's the thing that you got to do when lighting a scene like this, especially if you're going for realism, even if you're taking that realism and bending it, is you need to go with what's available, what's real, what's there, and then sort of just increase it, dial it up to 110%, 120%, whatever. So that's that shot there. Moving on. Okay, so I'm doing a kitchen setup. We got the Godox UL150. We got the RØDE video mic in there. This is the key light. We got the underlight Godox. We got the Amaran underneath there. There's the subject. We got this pulled up on the Atomos right now with the GH5. This shot is doing the majority of the work. And again, we have the tube light up here doing a lot of that backlight. And I love the way that this looks, especially out of focus. And you're getting these highlight blooms here. I would love to add halation here. A little bit of orange and red kind of bleed off because that would look so perfect. It would actually hide that a little bit better and then also make it look like it's classic 16mm, which was like what I was trying to go on. My GH5 is a digital equivalent to a 16mm film camera, essentially, with its sensor size and everything. So it would really make everything look very spot on if I got some halation going on. Anyways, I don't know which I would call our key. This is technically our backlight, but just that camera, once again, China ball, lighten everything from the sides here. So we're actually seeing the dark half of this onion and all the food that we're looking at, but you still get enough information on the sides running across. Got some highlights here, midtones here, and you really get a good sense of what the object is, even though we're looking at the dark side of the subject. The way that this looks, it looks great. The rim light, the fall off, the shadow, it's beautiful. I love this sort of cinematography. Most kitchen shots that you'll ever see on YouTube is shot in like high key, and I wanted to show something that was a little bit more realistic and sort of low-key sort of lighting. Something like Pig, which was a great movie, and I think it really highlighted, to me, that is cooking. Yeah, actually, we'll do this one really quick. So this is the exact same shot, exact same setup. I just lifted the camera, and I think we put on a 85mm instead of the 50mm, which we were using before. So exact same setup. That's just it. It was good to have the two angles on what we were doing though. Just slightly shifting the perspective a bit really made that shot. The overhead, this is actually probably the last thing that I shot. The practical would be the lamp light, which is coming from here. This is what's essentially lighting the scene. So we're going with that, but I think I actually turned it off, and just off camera again, hey, it's our old friend, it's the China ball. And that's actually where the source of light is coming from. It actually might be a combination of the both. I might actually have them both turned on because there's a harsh shadow here, but also we're getting a softer shadow here. So I think actually I had them both turned on. But there's a bit of a problem here that we'll talk about in a bit, but there's also a light source you can see coming from, you can see the glare there. This is still technically backlit, but we wanted to get enough light into the actual pot itself that you could see all that yummy food as it's cooking, which is the whole point of the video. This video is food porn, essentially. Oh yeah, we'll finally talk about this one. This is sort of an in-between or insert. So this is a cut to another shot, and this is another mistake that I made. Take it 2 seconds to think about what is wrong with this shot, and I'll give you a hint. It's light. It's the lights in this scene. Okay, if you haven't figured it out, the color temperatures are off. If you look at this, that, which is one of the more professional lights that I use, the light here versus the light is here, but we're just going to highlight this area. You'll notice the color's off. This is leaning more teal, and this is leaning more magenta. The problem with that is that the bulb that I was using that I didn't replace on the stove, which is just like a cheap bulb you would get from Home Depot or whatever. Problem with those is that they color shift really badly. Well, when I brought back the footage, this entire middle area was fully green. It was intensely green. And that does not look appealing on camera. And to sacrifice them, since this is more or less the main light that we're looking at, I color shifted. In fact, every shot that is near the stove, I had to color shift in post, make this green light look a little bit more yellow. As a result, it shifts this color to being more magenta. This is the problem with using cheap lights in the same scene as expensive professional lights, because the CRI rating on these are a little bit higher. If you don't know what CRI is that basically it's the color accuracy rating, and I believe these are about like 95 plus, whereas this would be well under, because it's obviously off. If you want to know something that's CRI rating is 100%, I'd say it's a candle or the sun in that case. If I had to do this again, I would in fact replace this bulb with a spare B7C or something. I did the best with what I could, but this is the problem with when you mix lights that way. From here, we just have some insert shots. And again, this is just like same sort of deal, backlit, probably lit the same way as the last shot. And then finally, this is kind of identical to the cutting board shots as well, just like we dialed it in. The closer you get to the subject, you just move all your lights in tighter. So the tube light hasn't moved, it's still there. But in terms of the China ball, it's probably been moved way up closer, and you can actually kind of see because it's hitting it from this angle, and the light is bouncing off of that amber colored chicken stock, and it's actually hitting my hand. You can see this like highlights of like it was just this warm glow coming off of the tips of my fingers here, and that's actually coming from the amber colored chicken stock. Again, this would have been really nice if I'd color temped everything to a warmer tone or changed the color temperature. Yeah, the end result would have looked a little more like this. There. Just having everything be a little bit warmer, I'd say. This is just a mock-up of what could have been, but ultimately I'm fairly happy with the end results of this video, and I think we did a good job. All right, there it is. I'm shooting this on my day off. I haven't showered. I'm in my pajamas. I don't care. I hope you learned a lot about how I made this. Maybe you can apply this to your own set of skills and whatnot. But in the meantime, enjoy, and I will catch you next time. But please, please, donate to my Patreon. It would mean a lot. You guys help pay my bills. And anything to kind of keep these lights on, because these lights are expensive. They're cinema lights. They need a little extra cash. But in the meantime, salute, and enjoy your guys' days off or whenever you're watching this. Take care. This is Dobie, and I'll see you around the bend. Ah, that is actually a perfect cup of coffee. God, that's really good. I should tweak this a little bit, maybe. You know, I could go back and actually just maybe even like make this warmer in post. I technically could. We could literally just recolor this entire thing. Maybe it's worth doing like a little revamp or something, just diving into this and figuring it out. That'd actually kind of be nice.